Zombies never really had their time to shine in rush duels. With some gimmicky decks early in the game, strong staples, and of course, the whites, there hasn't really been a defining deck that could truly give zombies a run in the meta. And with ritual monsters being on the rise, it just makes sense to see a revival now with a rush classic. Now, using her powers and the assistance of the haunted helpers, Necromaid Nana finally embraces the scariest profession in the world, a cosplayer. Hello everyone, my name is Protagonist, you can call me Protag, and I'm back with another episode of Rush Review. This is a series where I go over decks and themes to help introduce them to those who might want to learn about Rush, or for those who might want to try something new. Nana has been around for a while now. Her effect allowed her to be a strong addition in decks that could slot her in, and while she has gained some support in the meantime, it's honestly surprising how long it took for Nana to get a full theme built around her. So, we'll first have to go through the spooky specters that haunt the land, followed up by the generous ghouls who will lend their aid, and finally we'll test Nana's knack for battle as she goes up against the world. Starting off, let's talk about the star of the show, Necromaid Nana. By sending this face-up card from the field to the grave, you can place a level 7 monster from your grave to the bottom of the deck and draw 2 cards. While you're not retrieving it back to the hand, the fact that you can still add back key cards and even draw 2 makes it strong enough to still be limited to this day. As of now, Nana has 2 different choices of cosplay to wear, and since both of these cards are still technically Nana, their names become Necromaid Nana while in the graveyard. First up is Necromaid Ready. Shuffle a ritual monster or 3 zombies from the grave back into the deck. Then you can bounce a face-up monster on your opponent's board back to their hand. And your second option is Necromaid Lurker. By once again shuffling a ritual monster or 3 zombies from your grave back into the deck, then you can destroy a card on your opponent's field and inflict 700 damage to them. Now we can talk about the other main deck monsters, starting with Necromaid Cleaner. We actually saw this little guy in the alt art for Ghost Cyclone, so that's really cool that everything does just become a rush duel card at some point. Anyway, during the main phase that this card was normal or special summoned, you must mill 2, and if a zombie was among the cards sent, choose an opponent's spell or trap from their grave and set it onto their field. But then if you have the ritual spell, you're then able to destroy that card with Necromaid Lurker and get the bird damage off. Necromaid Carriage is a pretty big card. Send the bottom card of your deck to the grave, and if you sent a zombie by this effect, you can special summon it onto the field. If you do, you are unable to activate this effect again for the turn. Now, with so many different cards that do need you to put cards at the bottom of the deck, it's actually never been easier to get this effect off. And what's a good way to get high-level tribute summons onto the board? With Necromaid Guard, of course. Mill a card, and this card's level increases by 3 for the turn. At the same time, this card can be used as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a zombie in attack position. By adding 3 levels, this does become level 7, which is perfect for rituals. Necromaid Timer can also help with that as well. On the main phase that you normal or special summon this card, send 2 face-up monsters whose original levels are 4 or lower from the field to the grave. Then you can special summon a Necromaid Carriage or a light zombie ritual monster from the grave back onto the field. However, then you are locked into attacking with zombies for the rest of the turn. This is basically a ritual spell in monster form. Both revival targets are very strong, and depending on the situation, it's nice that you can adapt for what you might need. But since we are working with a ritual deck, we do have monsters that work with the spells as well. Necromaid Cook lets you excavate the top 5 cards of your deck. You can then send an excavated zombie or ritual spell to the grave. The rest can be sent to the bottom of your deck in any order. For once, it could actually matter what order you put them in. But now with Carriage's effect as a possibility, be sure not to mess the order up. Necromaid Doctor, on the phase that you normal or special summon this card, needs you to send a face-up zombie from your field to the grave. Then you can send Maid's Baneful Gift or Necromaid Trickment from the grave to your spell and trap zone. And lastly, on the main phase you normal or special summon Necromaid Lantern, you can set either ritual spell, Necromaid Stitch or Necromaid Resize from the grave to your spell and trap zone. With all the monsters done, we can finally look at these spooky spells. Necromaid Order lets you excavate the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can choose a zombie effect monster with 700 defense or a ritual spell to your hand. The rest go back to the bottom of the deck, and you're locked into attacking with zombies again. Necromaid Resize lets you ritual summon a level 7 light zombie by sending zombies from your field to the grave whose levels equal 7 or more as material. You are then locked into attacking with only zombies for the rest of the turn as well. Necromaid Stitch allows you to ritual summon Necromaid Lurker by sending face-up monsters from your field to the grave whose total levels equal 7 or more as material. This card might be scary. There's no specification on what can be used as material, and there's no type lock, so you could just use this as a generic ritual spell. And as we saw, Necromaid Lurker is a strong removal option. So it is possible that this can be splashed into many other decks going forward. We'll have to see though. Hopefully I'm just overthinking it. Maid's Baneful Gift is a surprisingly good trap card. When a monster on your field is destroyed by an opponent's card or card effect, you can draw 2 cards and special summon a Necromaid Nana from the grave face up onto the field. Now that both ritual monsters name change into Necromaid Nana while in the grave, you can easily bring them back even if they were the target of the destruction. But we do get a new trap in the form of Necromaid Trickment. Activate this card when your opponent normal or special summons a monster and you send a face-up zombie from your field to the grave. Then you can change 2 of your opponent's attack position monsters to face-up defense, and for the rest of the turn, your opponent can't use them to tribute or ritual summon. I can definitely see this card being a strong counter to quite a few decks running around right now. And with all the new cards introduced, let's see what support we can scrounge up to help Nana on her cosplaying quest. Since we do have level 7s, we might want to add some other level 7 zombies to the deck. The most obvious choice would have to be Wicked Shadow Dark Lurker. Mill 1 card and you can destroy an opponent's spell and trap card. If you do, burn your opponent for 1000 life points and return this card to the hand. Dark Skeleton Dead Ruler needs you to send a zombie from your hand to the grave. Then this card gains 1000 attack for the turn, and if you have a level 7 zombie in the grave, you can burn your opponent for 700 damage. And if you do want to lean in on the level 7s, Ship of 7 Treasures is a really good card to add here. This does also tempt me to add Ryozai for some extra protection for our ritual monsters since they are level 7. And because we are working with rituals, it just makes sense that we add Lich the Hopeful here. On the turn that you normal summon this card and you have 10 or more cards in your deck, place a monster from your grave to the bottom of your deck. Then you can mill 3. If you place a ritual monster to meet the requirement, you can add a card that you milled to your hand. Lich actually has so many synergies with this deck. She's a zombie, she can place a zombie at the bottom of the deck for carriage, and she just works wonders with rituals. What's not to love? Legend Necromancer is another viable option for rituals. Send a light monster from your hand to the grave and you can set a ritual spell from your grave to the spell and trap zone. Very generic, very usable in this deck. And one of the last cards to be added in Gia's Charge of the Nova, Kanpon Cha-Cha, is another strong generic ritual support card. Send this face-up card from the field to the grave and you can choose a ritual spell from either graveyard and add it back to the respective owner's deck. Then you can special summon a level 7 through 9 ritual monster from the grave to your field face up. It's really good interruption and you could possibly get one of your ritual monsters back. For back row, we actually have some fun options to choose from. Zombie Fireworks is a spell that activates when you reveal a level 5 or higher zombie in your hand. Then you can special summon up to 2 level 6 or lower zombies from your grave face up to the field. Afterwards, send a level 5 or higher zombie from the hand to the grave. But then you're locked into attacking with zombies only. This could be a useful way to get level 7s in the grave while reviving key monsters like Timer and even Nana. By sending a zombie from the field and a card from the hand to the grave, Certain Death Promotion lets you destroy a card on your opponent's field. Then if you have 4 or more zombies in the grave, you can draw a card. And believe it or not, there's a new promo card that can be super useful here as well. Book of Life was recently revealed to be the newest addition to Rush. On a turn that you haven't activated Book of Life and there's a monster in the opponent's graveyard, you can special summon a level 7 or lower zombie monster from your grave back onto the field. Then you can choose a monster in your opponent's graveyard and put it back to the bottom of your deck. This is basically meant for this deck and gives you some graveyard hate. Something that Rush has been promoting with all these monarchs running around. For traps, we have some gimmicky choices that are zombie related, but there's one that I do like a little bit more than the others. The Cursed Cat Counting Dishes activates when an opponent's level 9 or monster declares an attack while you have a level 7 or higher zombie on the field. You can then negate that attack. For more generic choices, New Start can be an option as well. This activates when your opponent normal summons a monster and you place a level 7 monster or a secret order from the grave into the bottom of your deck. Then you can destroy that normal summon monster while drawing until you have 5 cards in hand. This could help with carriage setups or just be good because you run so many level 7s. Duelists going against you might have some good options for defense. Maid's Mischief usually is situational, but pretty strong when going up against Necromaids. Send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, then you can shuffle up to 2 monsters from your opponent's grave back into their deck. You can then draw cards equal to the number of level 7 effect monsters that were shuffled back. This can really hinder your plans when your key level 7s get targeted. So watch out for that if this deck becomes really popular or strong. Alright, so here's the deck list we're working with today. 2 copies of Carriage, 3 Kompon Cha-Cha, 2 Cleaner, 3 Cook, 2 Timer, 3 Guards, 3 Lanterns, 3 copies of Legend Necromancer, and 3 copies of Lich. Now, the reason I'm only running 2 copies of Carriage is because, well, if I see a third one, I will lose my mind. That goes the same thing with Timer and with Cleaner as well. As you can see, this is very much a get your ritual out as soon as possible, and if you don't see a ritual on your first turn, you're probably going to lose the game. In order to make sure that I do see the ritual, I do have cards like, Card Trooper, I have 3 copies of Order, I have Book of Life for the revival, the effect is just really good, Pot of Greed to draw deeper into my deck, and then obviously 3 copies of all the rituals. After that, I am running 2 copies of Maid's Baneful Gift, 1 Trick Mint, and a Magic Cylinder, just for some extra damage. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into some games and see what we got. So, the first duel is against Dark Galaxy. My hand is pretty bad, so I ordered to add a Cook and hope I hit something good, which I did. I sent Carriage to the grave and used Timer to bring it back onto the field, making sure Lantern was my last card in the deck. Carriage summons Lantern, and I use my second Cook to hopefully hit a ritual spell, which I do. I send Stitch to the grave and then set using Lantern's effect. Then Stitch makes Lurker and I set Konpon Cha-Cha to end the turn. My opponent Gracefuls and then plays Deathical to mill and burn me. Cool Stars lets them draw another after pitching Dark Requiem and they set the rest and pass. That's great for me because now I Lurker to remove one of their back row and burn them as well. Stitch is used to make a second Lurker on top of my first Lurker and use its effect again to remove the second back row. I use Resize to make Ready and forget the lock as I flip Konpon Cha-Cha into attack, thus making me the pawn. Ready, bounce Deathical, and I attack the face down for the turn. Cool Stars activates again and Deathical returns to burn me as well. However, it seems that's all they can do as they set the rest. I honestly play this turn badly as I tribute Lurker for Konpon, use their effect to return Lurker, and the other one uses their effect, but with no summon targets. It just returned to Stitch and sent itself to the grave. This opened space for Lantern to set Resize, and I used that to make a second Lurker. The first Lurker removes one of the back row, and I set a trap before crashing with Lantern. For 3 turns in a row, Cool Star gets to activate again. And this time, they have a Snipe Hunter as removal. But before they start, they smartly use Universe Storm to pop my trap and tribute 2 monsters for Void Veil Chrysaor. Chrysaor activates, and luckily I don't get board wiped, but I do need those cards to set on the field if I want to live. Snipe Hunter rolls and luckily only gets 1 shot off, keeping me in the game. This time, I won't miss as I Lurker to remove the last back row, use Necromancer's effect to set Resize, play Guard to see if I mill anything good, and then use it to make Ready to bounce the Chrysaor and attack the Hunter. This was enough as my opponent plays some cards and doesn't hit anything good, so they surrender. My next game is against Monarchs. And yeah, I somehow play through this hand. My opponent starts first and they do their typical deep draw nonsense. Pot of Greed into Pot of Duality, into Triumph, into pitch 1, draw 2, into Triumph again, and then we see 2 Lindorm and a set card between them. On my turn, I play Guard and use the effect to mill 1 and it goes to level 7, activating all my rituals. Resize to make Ready, Stitch to make a Lurker, Lurker pops a Lindorm, Resize makes a second Lurker, and then activates to pop the second Lindorm. Finally, Resize again makes another Lurker, and that one uses its effect to remove the face down. Next turn, they activate Royal Wisdom Guards to return some cards, but then they have Invasion to bring back a Lindorm, but it can't use its effect, so they just set 2 and pass. I have Lantern to set Resize and Cook to send Stitch to the grave. Resize makes Ready, and I use Lurker to remove the back row and make Konpon and set a trap. Ready attacks Lindorm, and that's the turn. My opponent uses Jess to destroy Lurker and the back row before going into Wisdom Guards, Caius, and a set card. Caius activates to remove Ready, and then Guards activates as they manage to draw Wilhelm, which then destroys my last card. This is gonna hurt. I ordered to get Guard, but summon Lantern to set Resize and use it to make a Lurker and use that to remove Caius. I have a second Lantern to set Stitch and use that one to make another Lurker to remove the Wilhelm. Let's just hope that they can't destroy this wall again. The face down was actually Tribute Kaiser, which uses its effect to mill 1 and lower my Lurker to level 5. Then they tribute with 2 monsters to make Wilhelm and destroy my face down. Drock is then tributed for my Lindorm the Dragon Monarch and debuffs my Lurker before making another Wilhelm and I destroy my weaker Lurker. And thankfully that's it. On my turn, I set a card and play Necromancer and it gets destroyed by a trap hole. That's fine though as I summon Lantern and Card Trooper. Card Trooper activates its effect and I use Lantern to set Resize. I use the Stitch in my hand to make Lurker, and then both Lurkers remove the Wilhelm to clear the board. Finally, Resize makes Ready, and I just attack for game. GG's. I honestly just love this deck. Like, this is my ideal ritual deck at the moment, and it's just good. You have to adapt to the situation and see what monster needs to be set out onto the field, and you're incentivized to ritual summon on top of your ritual monsters to activate their effects more efficiently. It's almost like she's changing costumes. And like, there's potential for new cosplay rituals and other cards to be able to make this deck even better. Even if it isn't meta-defying or tier 1, I'll keep playing it. It's just a lot of fun. I think the big issue that this deck faces after doing a lot of these duels is that there's little to no protection on the rituals. My initial thought is something like Ryozai or Sunset Rebirth, since that does give destruction prevention and Ryozai has a good synergy, but if they get bounced, that does suck for you. Anyway, that's a wrap for another episode of Rush Review. We're already at the end of another year of Rush duels, and it's been a really good one overall. Hopefully we can expect even more fun themes and cards in 2026. Thank you all so very much for watching, and if you could, please like the video and subscribe if you want to see more. Comment on what you think of the deck, and I will see you all next time. Peace.